English translation 347th contact. Tuesday, 19th of August, 2003, 22.53 hours.
Be welcomed and greeted, my friend.
Thank you. You also be greeted.
May I strafe you with a question that is on the tip of my tongue?
Ask if you are in such a hurry.
Thank you. You here. This article has been in the newspaper. It is about Urk.
Ptaah reads the article.
What these specialists have found out is indeed astonishing, but the assumption does not correspond to the facts that Urk was involved in a battle. The truth is that Urk and 13 companions observed a life-and-death battle on the mountains of the Ptaah Valley between 6 human beings of 2 rival groups or tribes who were killing each other. When they were dead or dying, Urk and his companions ventured out of their hiding place and tried to save the dying, but they were unsuccessful. And since Urk's weapons were already quite damaged from years of use, he partly took possession of the weapons and clothes of the already dead, as well as of those who died under his and his companions' helping hands. Urk himself was indeed not involved in the battle, neither were his companions, and was not murdered, for he was indeed killed by an unfortunate fall during an epileptic seizure in which one of the arrows he had captured penetrated his body, and he was left to his fate by his companions, several of whom also lost their lives in the storm. Note: see Pleiadian Pleiaren Contact Reports, Volume 6, 238th Contact, Saturday, 18th May 1991, page 397. This is the real truth about Urk's death.
Thanks for the explanation. You hardly take it as the truth, but an Australian physicist by the name of Reginald T. Cahill actually found out what we have been teaching with the spiritual teaching for several decades. Namely that the universe, that is to say creation, that is to say universal consciousness, has a consciousness. However, this scientific new discovery is again accompanied by serious errors. For it is already being claimed that the universe, the creation or the universal consciousness, did not come into being by a tremendous explosion, but quite quietly, by thinking. The universal consciousness does not think, because it consists of pure spirit energy, and therefore exists as sensory consciousness. Such a consciousness, however, only exists in complete logic and, out of logical results of sensation, creates unions with other logical results of sensation, whereby logically constructed new things come into being. This was already given as an idea of the UR creation in the idea origin of the creation, that is to say of the universal consciousness, that is to say the universe. Here, this is an article of the PM from September 2003, which my son Atlantis gave me last weekend.
Ptaah reads the article.
Amazing, but not everything that is written here is in accordance with reality. The future is indeed described as indeterminate, but it is based on the law of causality, so it is therefore calculable for that reason alone, because the principle of causal connection shows the interrelated events from cause to effect. And it is precisely these connected events that can be fathomed by rationality, reason, and logic if the cause is known. Also, with regard to matter, the reality, everything is misunderstood, because matter is not a disturbance of the original world. Because as you yourself know best from the storage banks, matter is a spiritual, fine, sensitive-based, well-ordered, logical combination of logical, spiritual, fine, sensitive results. This Reginald T. Cahill is apparently unable to see behind universal consciousness what it really is, so he can see everything only from his perspective of material physics, but not from the perspective of spirit physics.
The universe, the creation, that is to say universal consciousness, is a gigantic living organism of fine fluidal and gross, that is to say spiritual and material form. The spiritual fine sensitive consciousness, the creation, The universal consciousness, that is to say, the universe in its spiritual energetic form, created the coarse material matter for the purpose of its own evolution. Because the universal consciousness is able to evolve itself through the evolution of all matter, and especially through the evolution of the human being, with their consciousness. For this reason, the universal spiritual fine sensitive consciousness created matter, or coarse material matter, even the material universe belt with all the galaxies, suns, planets, comets, meteors, gases and life forms of all genera and species, etc. Reginald Cahill, in his words, describes universal consciousness, that is to say, spiritual fine sensitive consciousness, as elementary consciousness. Interestingly, this term also exists in the spiritual teaching, and perhaps this is a sign that reality and the truth about the creation and its law-based matters are now slowly being recognized.
That well may be. Time will prove it. On the whole, the scientists' thought processes are astonishing and could indeed lead to great truthful insights.
That would be very gratifying, because then a lot of wind would also be taken out of the sails of the sects and religions.
That would probably be the case. Yes, but those who strictly adhere to the faith in God and are addicted to it will not allow themselves to be impressed even by great insights of the hoped-for form, and will not turn away from their erroneous faith.
Yes, that will be so for certain. But tell me, what do you think about the thing in Iraq? You in your very old age have surely much more experience with such things than any human being on Earth.
A counter-question. What do you think about this, and how do you see the present and future situation?
You want to dodge an answer, my friend?
No, because actually I only want to know how you judge the whole thing.
So unless, well, for my part, I think that the Americans and the British and the UN will never get Iraq and its people under their control. In this respect, the Americans will suffer a wicked defeat in their quest for world domination, as will the British, who are following suit. And exactly this world domination addiction of the Americans is also known by the Iraqis, which is why they will defend themselves against the annexers down to the last drop of blood and cause them heavy losses of material and human lives. The Americans have no idea about the mentality, the religion, and the special sense of freedom of the Islamic peoples, and so also not about the Iraqis, which is why the would-be conquerors can still fare quite badly, whereby it is also not excluded that real terrorists interfere. As for example those of Al-Qaeda as well as other Islamic states, and want to fight helpfully in Iraq against the hated American and British invaders. As in Israel and Palestine, I believe that there will be more and more murder and manslaughter, explosives, grenades, rockets and mines, with suicide squads and individual suicide bombers also appearing. That is what I think. Perhaps this will somewhat dampen the Americans' greed for world domination for once. But the question is whether they will become more clever and give up their greed for domination of the whole world, and finally withdraw from all the states where they have already spread out. My calculations of the future show something quite different, namely that the Americans will continue in the same inhuman and criminal style, and that the old prophecies will be fulfilled after all. So everything lies in the hands of those humans who think and act sensibly and responsibly. And especially in countries like America and England, but also in other countries, it is the righteous and responsible people who eliminate all warmongers, who are also war criminals, as well as all other despisers of humanity and humankind, traitors and unrighteous ones of the governments and the people, and send them into lifelong banishment, no matter what office they hold, what title they hold, what sex they are, what power they have, and whatever their name may be.
Altogether, with your words, you also reflect my opinion. Your experience and knowledge leave nothing to be added. But who am I telling, my friend?
Too much honor. Now I have a completely different question about Madeline. Did you talk to Ketzel about this?
You speak to me about her severely deformed feet and her night watch. Yes, Ketzel and I consulted and studied very carefully the written medical records of the examinations and clarifications. In fact, it does not look very pleasant for Madeleine, not only at present, but also from a future point of view. Because everything can quickly deteriorate so much through too much standing and walking that she can no longer walk at all and be dependent on a means of transport. For this reason, we decided that a group decision should be taken which would restrict Madeline in the performance of her duty as a night watch person, in the form that she would only be required to make one tour, and that it would be shortened to such an extent that it would not be necessary to go to posts 4, 13, 14, and 21. If, contrary to expectations, this should not be possible due to the unreasonableness of the group members, Madeleine would inevitably have to be withdrawn from the night watch within a short time. In addition, it must be said that it would be extremely unfair if any other members of the group were to use the measure as a pretext for Madeleine to simulate and advance false facts of alleged suffering, incapacity or age, etc., in order to free themselves from the duty of night watch. Such an action would not be in accordance with the sense of mission or group spirit and would be tantamount to a cowardly escape from the fulfillment of duty, as Ketzel expressed it, and in which I agree with him. According to our investigations, no member of the group is even remotely in the same position as Madeleine with her foot deformations, through which she can only fulfill her duty of a normal night watch with pain. So there are no other group members in this relationship, or elsewhere, who have any health problems or any other actual reasons for not fulfilling their night watch duty.
I will bring your proposal to the next meeting. The posts you mentioned are number 4 is the pile, number 13 is the street below the garage parking lot, number 14 is by the swing, and number 21 is the bower by Andreas's room. But the cars near the garage parking lot have to be checked, right?
Yes, that is not excluded.
Then it is settled. The thing will surely be okay according to your suggestion, I hope.
Now then, my friend, I must speak of what I came here for.
Then fire away.
What I have to talk to you about is not meant to be official.
Okay, then so be it.